How's it going, everybody? Marvel Cross 316 back with another Amazing Spider-Man review. This time we're looking at Amazing Spider-Man issue number 10. This is a comic book flashback. Hope y'all really enjoyed this series as we are on the 10th issue of Spider-Man. We're looking at the 10th issue. It's already been 10 videos that I've been reviewing. If you haven't looked at the first 9 issues that I've reviewed, go back and look at them. They're great reviews. But let's get started. Today we're going to be looking at a brand new group of villains called the Enforcers. This is the very first appearance of the Enforcers. They are a part of the Spider-Man mythos, a part of Spider-Man's Rogue Gallery. We have Ox, we have Montana, Fancy Dan, and we're also introduced to this new villain right here also, who is called the Big Man. So we have a group of 4 new villains introduced in the 10th issue of Amazing Spider-Man. Let's look at the title of this. It is Never Has Anyone Fought Such Merciless Foes as the Enforcers. So we'll see who the Enforcers are. We'll take a good look at that. First, let's look at the cover, and I would say that the cover could use, it could use some color. And it could also use more drawing. This definitely is not one of the best covers out of the first 10 issues. I definitely would say that it's not as good as the others. But I would say this, that the story makes up for the lack of art on the cover. I'll just say that. So let's look at the issue real quick. So here we have the title here as the Enforcers. We're going to be looking at them as always. We also need to look at who was responsible for this comic. We can never review a comic book without giving credit to people that were involved. So of course we have this written by Smiling Stan Lee. We have it illustrated by Swingin' Steve Ditko and lettered by Sam Rosen. So that should work out right there. Again, if you've not watched my other videos, go back and watch them. I've been reviewing the Amazing Spider-Man title. And as always, just continue to watch these. I will be putting out other videos as well based on other comic books. I'm thinking about doing the X-Men, maybe the Fantastic Four, but we'll see. Alright, let's get started with the story. So we're introduced to this new little crime boss here. He is called, as always, the Big Man. We don't know much about the Big Man. He looks very interesting looking, like with his how he dresses. He has a white mask. We just don't know a lot about the Enforcers either. So let's kind of move forward. They try to sabotage Spider-Man in the beginning by tricking him. This guy up here is stealing probably something from the bank or whatever. And as Spider-Man tries to capture this crook, he is propelled in the air by this helicopter, and then on top of that, he's gassed. So that's not good. So the big boss man, or we'll call him the Big Man because that's how he's called in the comic book here. His main plot here was to trick Spider-Man to make his reputation look bad to the public, and of course it has worked, as you can tell on the faces of these people down below in the streets. So that plan did work. Now we need to look at the motivations of the Big Man. Of course, he is, as this comic book shows, a very powerful leader, and he uses force in order to get people to join him. So we're introduced here, right here, the Enforcers. We have these 3 people. They are a part of the Enforcers. We are introduced first to this man right here, who is Fancy Dan. Fancy Dan, he's wearing purple right here. He's very short, but his size does not matter because he is specialized. He is trained in judo. So he has a black belt in judo, and he's, somebody you just do not want to mess with. Fancy Dan, do not want to mess with. He'll break your arm. Then we got this guy right here, the Ox. and his name makes up for his ability. He's strong as an ox. So that's pretty much why he's called the Ox. He's as strong as an ox. He can knock out 3 people with one blow. Very powerful person. And then also we have Montana, who uses this rope. And when I was reading this issue, it reminds me, these 3 characters, they remind me of a Western. If you ever go back and watch those old Westerns from like the 60s and 70s, that's what these 3 villains look like. They look like someone from the Wild West, especially Montana with his rope. And with this rope, Montana can use it. He's very skilled with this rope. He can use it to take away weapons. He can tie people up with it. Just very skilled. It's a very long rope too, and you'll see how he uses it against Spider-Man in the coming panels. So, as always, he makes his point here. These are all crime people here who are in the crime rackets. He's trying to recruit as many crime lords as possible because big, all right, the big man. I'm gonna get it right. The big man here. He wants to be the head of the crime syndicate in New York. That's his goal. Okay, kind of like the Kingpin, but we'll look at the Kingpin in later issues. Now, remember, in last issue, Peter Parker's Aunt May, had to go under surgery for an illness. And now that she's recovering, Peter Parker is required to give a blood transfusion. Now, you can see the worried look on Peter Parker's face here because he knows that his blood is not normal like other humans because he has radioactive blood. Remember, he was bit by a radioactive spider which gave him his power. So he's worried that when the blood transfusion is given to Aunt May, it might affect her as well. But all turns out fine, and Peter Parker goes about his business. We also learn that Aunt May is going to take a trip to Florida to rest a little bit with her friends. So that will give Peter Parker a little time to not worry about Aunt May. But he also has to worry about just all this crime going on in New York City. Look at what's going on here. I mean, all this holdups, robbery, all led by this one man right here, the big man. So we have to keep him in mind as we continue looking at this story. So let's kind of skip on forward. You can admire the art. The artwork from Steve Ditko on this issue is great. Now, one person involved in this storyline here is J. Jonah Jameson, and we know from past issues, if you looked at my other reviews or have read these issues personally, you know that J. Jonah Jameson hates Spider-Man with all his guts. I mean, there's one person in your life that you hate, I mean, that's the equivalent of how Jameson sees Spider-Man. Now, we're also introduced to this guy right here, which is Frederick Foswell, and he makes a lot of appearances in the early Spider-Man issues, especially the issues that Steve Ditko drew. And so this is his first appearance here as well. Frederick Foswell, he is a columnist who works at the Daily Bugle. So we're introduced to him. Also, we have Betty Brant, who we know by now has a very big crush on Peter Parker, and we also know that they have a little bit of a romance going on, Peter Parker and Betty Brant. But we also learn in this issue that she is involved with the Enforcers, that she's gotten all tangled up in this group because she took out a loan with these guys, and so she's in a lot of danger. Peter Parker, standing up for his woman, comes up, says, you're not messing with my woman. And then the big O Ox here puts him in a big O bear hug, and he's, Peter Parker can't show his full strength in front of Betty Brant because that would give his secret identity away. He's mad, and he's also mad at Betty Brant because she will not confide in Peter Parker and tell him what's going on because she doesn't want Peter Parker to get hurt. Of course, Betty Brant does not know that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. So, there's a lot of drama in this issue. So again, like I said, the cover on this issue might not be that great, but the story makes up for it. I mean, this is a fantastic story. There's a lot of suspense, a lot of mystery behind who the big man is. So Spider-Man finally learns the hideout from who the big man, or where the big man is at, and where the enforcers are from this guy. He uses interrogation tactics. And like I was saying, look at what Montana can do. He can use his rope, and he pulls Spider-Man in midair. So that's pretty skillful right there. So there's a lot of fighting here. I mean, a lot of action in this issue. This is a very underrated issue, and one of the first 10 issues. A very underrated issue. I really enjoyed this issue. And this is where Spider-Man starts suspecting that J. Jonah Jameson might be the big man, because he's shown to be walking away from the scene where the hideout is at. So there's a suspicion that J. Jonah Jameson is the big man. We also learn, because of Betty Brant's fear of the enforcers attacking Peter Parker, she leaves town and goes to Pennsylvania. And so this shocks Peter Parker, because of course he loves Betty Brant, and he hates to see her go, and he doesn't know why. He doesn't know why Betty Brant left. And there's a lot of mystery, a lot of unsolved things from this issue that we just don't know about Betty Brant as well. It leaves us hanging, which is good. So Peter Parker has to decide how in the world am I going to get to the big man. So he decides that I'm just going to go around town and tell everybody that I know who the big man is. And of course, this guy overhears Peter Parker telling him that, and then the big man actually knows who Peter Parker is. So that's a big clue right there that we learned. The big man knows who Peter Parker is, and then Peter Parker is eventually captured, put into this big jail cell here. Peter Parker turns into Spider-Man, and this is where all the action starts right here. Spider-Man is caught spying on all these crime lords, of course with the big man here. And this is where the action starts. I mean, I'll hush right now and just let you look at some of this. So yeah, he uses his beacon to alert the police. The police see the spider signal, and then the police come and break up the fight. The big man gets away before Spider-Man can get to him in time. Spider-Man at this point is just tired from fighting all those people. They're all rounded up, including the enforcers. So the enforcers are going to jail. Spider-Man's like, all right, I gotta find out who is the big man. Who is the big man? I think it's J. Jonah Jameson. Let's go to the Daily Bugle and check. Boswell, who's the columnist, saying, hey, I got the thing already written, and then J. Jonah Jameson's like, just rip it up. The police come in and they say, all right, we know who the big man is, and Spider-Man's like, all right, we're gonna see J. Jonah Jameson get what he deserves. But then, nope, we find out that Frederick Foswell, is the big man. He was the man all along. He used these padded shoes to, help him with his height, and then he had this big old disguise here. So Spider-Man's like, what? This is crazy. So Foswell goes to jail, and we also learn right here, why does J. Jonah Jameson hate Spider-Man? Well, here we find out. He says right here, Spider-Man represents everything that I'm not. He's brave, powerful, and unselfish. The truth is, I envy him. I, J. Jonah Jameson, millionaire, man of the world, civic leader, I'd give everything I own to be the man that he is, but I can never climb to his level. So all that remains for me is to try to tear him down, because heaven help me, I'm jealous of him. So there we find there in this issue why J. Jonah Jameson hates Spider-Man. And we end right here with Betty Brant wishing she could confide and Peter Parker, but she can't, and wishes that Spider-Man would come to her aid. I hope y'all enjoyed this issue. I will continue to make videos for this, Amazing Spider-Man title. It's a classic. It's one of my favorites. Of course, Spider-Man is my favorite hero. Go ahead and like this video. Comment down below what you liked. And if you have not subscribed, subscribe and join the Marvel The Cross 316 fan club. See you later.